Hey everyone, and welcome to the Preservation Healing Guide 2.0. This should work through 10.0.5. There are some changes coming. I'm going to go over the biggest change that'll affect this, but realistically, all this information should hold up quite nicely. Quick little disclaimer. This build that you're watching, I'm 2300, and I've done almost all of my score by pugging. So just getting with random groups. This build, and there's a second variant I'll need to talk about, but this build has done wonderfully for me. This is not a tournament build, and this is not a rating build. And I say this because a lot of players want to know what the best build is, the optimal build. It doesn't exist. It's always based on content that you are doing, the situation in which you are healing, right? So if you need more heals, this build you're looking at right here has an adjustment that's better for you need more heals. If you need more damage, you're playing a more competitive group and you're trying to get some pretty fast times done, you might want to go the more damage route. It really depends on what you're doing. So I'll walk through the why I picked what I did. We're gonna go through all the buttons and then focus on combos and opening combos because this class is very combo heavy and I don't want to skip a beat. Now, there's two builds. Life Force Mender increases the damage of Living Flame and Fire Breath based on your maximum health. We do use Fire Breath to heal people because of this talent, and this one sticks around in both builds. This is a higher damage build. You're going to do more single target, you're going to do a lot more AoE, and the numbers pan out. It's pretty freaking good, but it is less healing. Now, my disclaimer is I don't have problems healing most dungeons. I'm usually dying because we did something stupid as a party, a player walked into something dumb, or I walked into something dumb. I'm not typically losing because of a healing check. However, if you are nervous about healing and you're not so worried about your damage output, remove these points and head over here. So Emerald Communion is one of our best buttons, and we take this talent that makes it stronger by increasing our maximum health, and Call of Ysera. I just want to quickly note, don't ever take Dreamwalker. If you want to move while using Emerald Communion, you can hover and Emerald Commune, and then this looks hysterical. But hey, you never have to take the other talent here. Call of Ysera means that our jump heal will empower our Dream Breath by 40% or our Living Flame by 100%. This is great, and you get a ton of healing value out of it. When you start comboing this with Renewing Breath down here, giving us 30% more healing, you can get an absolutely disgusting amount of healing out of Call of Ysera. But I often don't need that much healing. And some of these higher keys I've been running, I've been using Call of Ysera just as padding, to make sure we're not having healer problems. And we're not, but it's nice to have. You pick what works best for you. And ultimately, I want you to play around with this. If there's a talent here you really love and you want to integrate, go for it. But I'm going to be giving this guide based on how I play this. And I just want to be completely real with all of you about how I play this. Now, I want to go over why the builds are the way they are and some key talents. Key talents are Leaping Flame. The more we charge our Fire Breath, the more Living Flames get thrown when we cast it. And this turns into gigantic heals, gigantic damage. It's a really nice little talent just to have. It's only 1 point and it essentially makes every time we cast Flame Breath better because now we get a little more out of whatever we use our Living Flame on. Also, Living Flame can proc an Essence Burst, which we can get 2 of, and that gives us a free cast of either Disintegrate, Echo, or Emerald Blossom. So having 2 of those, or up to 4 or 5 of those, means 5 or 4 chances at a 20% chance to get a free Essence. And then when you combine that with Echo, which will further increase the chances of getting an Essence Burst, and you get one. Sometimes you get 2. Like, it's awesome. So this is a great talent, in which ways we always take Protracted Talents, which makes our fun little AoE button always hit 3 targets. Zephyr is the big button over here I want you to keep track of. This is an AoE damage reduction. So any AoE attacks that are coming through, pulsing from an enemy, circles on the ground, you name it, deal 20% less to the party on a 2-minute cooldown. Never take this off. Keep this on forever. I think this is probably, if there was one button I was going to say always and never take this off for, it's Zephyr. It's so strong. It's so useful. There are so many places for it to go. There's going to be rarely a moment where you don't want to take Zephyr, but huge button here. But without further ado, no, actually I have a few more. Temporal Anomaly is one of the best buttons in the game. Combined with this talent, it's going to provide an echo to every target that it shields. Right now it's a pulsing shield, so when you throw a Temporal Anomaly, it'll slow down your helpful targets or allied targets and will pulse a shield onto all of them, and all of them receive an echo, which then means that they receive an extra effect of healing. Now, Temporal Anomaly's echo is weaker than echo, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. But when Temporal Anomaly doesn't have a friendly target, it fires like this. And this is what it's going to do in 10.0.5, instantly applying shields and echoes, and then at a reduced rate after 5 or 6 players for the shield, and it'll only put 6 echoes up. But it's going to be nicer, slightly longer cooldown. Not a whole lot's going to change with it though, so that's why you're kind of safe in the world of talents. We take double rewind. Just to quickly explain this, in dungeon instances, it will rewind 50% of damage taken in the last 5 seconds, not 25, due to that last line. It's nice to have it be 100%, but realistically, 2 charges will save your buns. And there's so many places where I've wanted that in a boss fight, and it's been 100% worth it. So we keep rewind, double rewind here. We also take stasis, which is a wonderful button, and I'm going to talk about how it works later, but it allows you to store useful heals. So you can set up a pretty big heal, and then later, within a 30-second window, you can set up another really big heal, and then let it all rip one more time. Stasis is incredibly fun, and it's worth learning. It's got a low cooldown, so play around with it till you're comfortable. It's absolutely worth learning. So, without further ado, let's get into all the buttons. I'm going to go a bit quick here. If you have questions, please drop them in the comment section. Because I might miss something, and I have no problem answering questions down there, especially on the guides, because I understand players are coming from many different disciplines of play. So let's get into it. Living Flame. Living Flame is your standard single target damage button. It actually does quite a bit of damage. So I'm a big fan of Living Flame. It's an okay heal. I say it's an okay heal because it does have a chance to give you Essence Burst, meaning it's quite effective. It's relatively mana positive or mana neutral, so you're going to find you can spam it pretty easily. But honestly, other healing combos you're going to use more often. But let's say there was a moment you need to prepare for a big heal. Well, then throwing Living Flames to get Essence Burst to get free echoes is actually really, really worth it. But only if you can make time for it, right? It's otherwise relatively inefficient. A good efficient use of it is, let's say you charge up a big Fire Breath. This gives us a 3 charge Living Flame. So now, let's say I echoed a bunch of people with temporal anomaly, and then I threw a Living Flame. We're gonna get 4 Living Flames, a bazillion Essence Bursts, and a ton of instant healing. So after a Fire Breath and with echoes on people, Living Flame becomes better. Use it when you want to be a little lazy or mana efficient or get procs, but a lot of the times you'll be using other combos. But as a single target damage button, you can use it all the time. Speaking of single target damage buttons, welcome to Disintegrate. Disintegrate is just a nice little charge. It'll slow targets, and so will Azure Strike due to a talent we take. It's great. It uses 3 essence though, making it a bit expensive, but if you're in your single target rotation and you get a free Disintegrate because of Essence Burst, well, you know what? It's a lot of the time worth the damage to throw it out. It's not going to steal from your essences. It's going to do good damage because we take Energy Loop. It does 20% more damage and it restores our mana. Okay, I got these comments the first time I made the video. Now I know you're all crazy. I have mana problems in dungeons. Not a ton on Evoker, but I do. And when I do, I'm thrilled that I have Energy Loop to save my buns. Not only that, but Energy Loop, it does so much for your mana bar. When you have downtime and you're doing damage in a pack, you're reducing your need to have to get mana back on the next pull. And when you have a tank that chain pulls and a chain pulls and a chain pulls, you can keep up quite a bit with something like Energy Loop. So it's wonderful, but this is almost entirely a damage button. All right, Azure Strike. This is part of your main AoE rotation, but it's mana positive. Yeah, that's right. You can just cash Azure Strike while running, hitting 3 targets, dealing decent damage, slowing all the targets you hit, and that's it. It's great. I love this move. Let's say you're doing damage in a boss fight and you have to move and you don't want to cast hover. You can just Azure Strike instead. What's not to love? It will not proc your Essence Burst though, unlike Devastation, your other spec, where it does proc Essence Burst. Okay, Fire Breath. Because of the talents, Life Giver's Flame, and if you're running my damage build, Life Force Mender, this move actually does a crap ton of healing. The more you charge it, the more upfront damage and the less damage over time. However, damage over time is kind of nice because you get a lot of chances to crit, and I just find I get a little bit more out of using it at level 1, but sometimes I level 2 or level 3 charge for a bigger Leaping Flame. But as you can see, it's just passively healing while doing damage. Fire Breath is a wonderful move, and you're gonna love it. Okay, so this is a move I'm going to talk forever about, but Reversion has a talent called Golden Hour, where it will heal instantly 15% of damage taken in the last 5 seconds. So if I put a Reversion on me, it's okay. It's a heal over time. Comes back pretty quick. You can get them down on people pretty fast. If it crits, it'll actually extend its duration though, by a little bit, which is really, really nice feature. If you have two set, however, and if you have 2-piece gear set and you cast a Reversion and you use any of your empowered moves, it suddenly gains, it suddenly gains extra crit chance for a little bit. So now it's a 50% crit chance. And so they live a while. So as you use your other moves, you end up extending the amount of crits that these can get, and Reversions can last a really long time. That's a decent amount of healing, but it's still kind of only good in raid at that point. But if we echo ourselves to replicate an extra healing effect and then hit Reversion, we get double. Now we have 2 of these ticking on us, and if we cast Spirit Bloom, now both of these have a 25% increased chance to crit, which with my current stats gets me near 50% crit chance on those Reversions. They put in a lot of work over time, but it's that heal for 15% of recently taken damage that's disgusting. It's also really funny on these target dummies because you get 84 million, but that means if you echo a tank and then hit Reversion, you can heal back a ton of damage they took. So yes, it's a good spot heal. Echo Reversion is one of the best combos in the game, but tanks, mitigation and shielding and damage reduction, a lot of that still procs Golden Hour. So like if you see a Death Knight's health bar ping-ponging up and down, just throw a Reversion on him. You're gonna top him off. Like it's insane. So Reversion's a great button. You're gonna use it quite a lot. I pulled this up last time, but I failed a wonderful Algathar Academy. And look at how much Reversion did. 6.6, 7.9, 12.7% of my healing. That's a hell of a lot of healing. So do not sleep on Reversion. Spirit Bloom, we take a talent to make this reduced by 10 seconds. This is also a nice talent, but I prefer Spiritual Clarity because having this on a 20-second cooldown gives me nice combo potential with Verdant Embrace. But also I just find that there's enough damage checks in the game that 20 seconds lets me recast this, where 30 seconds would leave me wishing it was off of cooldown. But Spirit Bloom is a big fat heal, 53,000 before any modifiers. So you hit a target with an echo, cast one of these on them, and you get a pretty gigantic heal out of them. Now, the more you charge it, the more people it hits. So try not to use this in single target. It is much better applied on, say, a big group in AoE. Right, so let's say we have echoes applied to everyone, myself included, and then we get to charge up the Spirit Bloom. It'll heal the primary target, jump smart target other targets, and then hit everyone with echo, and you just get some absolutely insane amount of healing out of it. So really great move. Learn where it goes, and you'll be very happy with it. Dream Breath I want to talk about, but I want to talk about 2 other buttons first. And of course, Time Dilation. OGCD 1-minute cooldown. Turn your tank into a Brewmaster. 50% of incoming damage over the next 10 seconds is dealt over time instead. Literally make someone a Brewmaster. Also, let's say your tank gets fried and a DPS gets targeted. Throw Time Dilation on them. They can probably survive a little bit. And that might be all the time you need to get your tank back up. Time Dilation is wonderful, and it's OGCD. So let's say you're casting a heal, you can, or not a heal, let's say you just cast a Reversion, you can Time Dilate immediately afterwards. Very useful. Okay, before we talk about Dream Breath, let's talk about Echo. Echo gives someone a heal on the spot and a bigger heal on the spot from Ouroboros, which I love this talent. A lot of people told me this is useless. It's not. Dream Breath and Emerald Blossoms will stack it up, and then you, even at just a few stacks, it ends up giving you quite a bit of healing. So let's just pop an Emerald Blossom. It's at 8 stacks, right? Echo just did a 32,000 before I pressed the healing button. Then I press the healing button, and it does a ton. I love Ouroboros. Now, we take a talent that makes it stronger. So it's 105% healing is replicated, which is why if I hit them with Reversion, they get 84 million and 84 million. But Echo will let you get a double dot on someone, or Echo will let you get a double Dream Breath on them, or Verdant Embrace a whole party. So let's say 3 targets are hurt. Target 1, I Echo. Target 2, I Echo. Target 3, I Verdant Embrace. Boom. I healed them, I healed these two players, and they all are now getting my passive life bind from Verdant Embrace. So you can do a lot with Echo, but Temporal Anomaly also produces echoes. As I said earlier, it pulses a shield, and 10.0.5, this will change a little bit, but the application remains the same. You get echo on things. Now, let's hit them with a heal. You Living Flame someone, everyone just got a chunky heal. And now this is only increased furthermore by using bigger healing buttons, but Temporal Anomaly's echo is weaker. It is at 45% healing. But that being said, who's saying no to 45% replicated healing? If we put this on targets and then Dream Breath, you're just like it's gonna be hard to sift through all these numbers, but that's a hell of a lot of healing for not a lot of work. Dream Breath, similar to Flame Breath, is a cone heal. It's a relatively big cone, unlike Fire Breath, it's a little harder to aim. The more you charge it, the more upfront it does, and less heal over time. If you want more heal over time, you want to tap fire. I typically level 1 this, but if I need more healing, you just keep holding it down. That's one of the nice benefits too, is you can make that decision on the fly. But this is an excellent move. Now, I do want to talk about the talent, Ysera's. Ysera's will make, after you do it a verdant on any target, including yourself, it'll make your Dream Breath hit even harder, 40%, or your Living Flame by 100%. This is good. This is really, really, really good. If you can set it up with an echo, though, it's even better. And this is some of the most ridiculous healing you'll see in the game. I mean it. Just what's not to love about the amount of healing you're getting out with this? Now, that can be a bit hard to set up, and you can put all of that in a stasis as well, which is pretty crazy. But learning where to implement your Ysera's is quite nice. And Call of Ysera also is just good if you don't want to set up a temporal anomaly, for instance. So it's lovely stuff. Echo's other big use case too is, let's say you throw a temporal anomaly and you miss a target. Oh, like we didn't get this target. Echo the targets you didn't get. It's okay, because then let's say you have to heal the front line. At least you still healed the person back here, and at that higher 105% potency, as opposed to the reduced one from the temporal anomaly. This is going to be better for the people up front and really cost efficient, but you're not forgetting about that person in ranged, and that usually makes the difference for me. So you're going to be using these 3 moves in tandem a lot, but you're also going to be using them for all your combos, and which is why we had to go over them. I don't build for Emerald Blossom, but if you take Bountiful Bloom and you maybe go down here to Field of Dreams, Emerald Blossom is a wonderful heal. We do take Panacea, which means when we throw it, we heal ourselves. It's niche for me. I use it sometimes on an Essence Burst to heal the melee targets, but realistically, Emerald Blossom, other than helping me with Dream Breath, store up Ouroboros, isn't doing a whole lot. But it's a good move when you play around it. I just don't. I find the other buttons to be a little more worth it. Okay, I want to go over healing buttons and then utility buttons, so we're going to kind of skip around. Tip the Scales is an OGCD that lets you instantly cast an empowered spell. Like there's an instant Fire Breath. Things like that are really useful in the damage department, as well as the healing department, but my honest to God use case for it for all of you is if you're new to the class, use it as a healing cooldown. If you are a veteran or you're more prepared and you want to do some damage, it's really fun to use as a damage button. I'll never tell you not to. But Tip the Scales is wonderful. This is more imperative as a DPS player. For us, we can just use it to quickly make a spot heal out of something. And with a 2-minute cooldown, it's not the end of the world. Okay, Hover. If you use Hover in place, you'll go straight up. If you use Hover holding a direction, you'll dash in that direction. Hover stack, which is nice. So if you use them both in a row, you don't lose any time. And it allows you to cast most spells while moving. The empowered spells cannot be cast while moving, but you can use this to say keep up with the tank and throw a temporal anomaly into melee while the tank is gathering everything. So there's a lot of cool use cases for Hover. Let's say you need to move during a mechanic though, and you don't want to dash. Run, let go of run, tap Hover, run. And you'll get one in place still. Very useful stuff to remember. Now here's a fun one. Rescue. I might not have any footage of rescue, but you target someone, you hit rescue, and you pick where you both go. Rescue is a really cool button, and I have a lot of fun with it, but you realistically, the best use of it I've ever found is to move people in position. So sometimes you get ranged on this class, and it sucks because you want to heal people, and they're all standing in different parts of Narnia. So what do? Tell them to move in. That is my actual advice. You type in chat, move in for heals. move in for heals or die if they really suck at doing it. But nothing's better than a hunter being on the other side of the planet and you rescue them into closer range. Usually players go, oh, I know why that happened. They want to heal me. Now, it doesn't always work. Sometimes an enemy needs to be baiting an attack behind you, and then you can just use Echo to heal them. But rescue? Yeah, maybe you'll save someone's life with it. I mostly use it to put people in position so that they stop ranging me. Verdant Embrace jumps to a target. It provides Lifebind, which allows your healing to go through all targets with Lifebind. And this also replicates through Echo. So let's say you get a bunch of Echoes on everyone, right? And then you Verdant yourself, you will get your Mastery, which heals more based on your health. If you're higher health than other people, you heal more. So you Verdant yourself, applying Mastery to everyone. Everyone gets Lifebind. You heal yourself with a health pot or a reversion, and everyone is healing for a moment. Yeah, you can get a hell of a lot out of your healing through Lifebind and Verdant Embrace, but it's also a jump. So I use this to cleave heal a lot. Again, the 2 Echo targets jump to the target that needs healing. You healed 3 targets. It's also a jump. Sometimes you gotta get somewhere really quickly. Verdant Embrace is sometimes your last ditch effort to jump to someone. In Stasis, I recommend you play with this move, but realistically, let's say you're all taking a bunch of damage, pop Stasis and throw a temporal, maybe throw a Spirit Bloom, level 2 Dream Breath. Now it's all stored. You have 30 seconds to cast this. The move is on cooldown once it starts glowing. And let's say there's another phase of damage. You could throw the temporal anomaly, get some echoes out. Here comes the damage, pop the stasis. And that's a lot of healing. Just practice this move. It'll make more sense as you get better at it. All in all, stasis is a life changer. This will make or break some dungeons. So good use cases of this are nice to have memorized. Okay, let's talk about a few more healing buttons. Cauterizing Flame and Naturalize. So this is your cleanse. It gets rid of poison and magic. It sucks. It's a standard 8-second cooldown, but it's only poison, right? Magic and poison. Cauterizing Flame is the best button in the game. It does bleeds, it does poison, it does curse and disease. It just doesn't do magic, but it's a 1-minute cooldown and it heals when it works. You can stasis both of these moves and you can kind of get a pseudo mass dispel out of it. I never use it. It's never been more worth it to me to stack them in there, but pick different targets, right? So you pop stasis and maybe you naturalize yourself and then you naturalize a different party member and then a different party member. And the move doesn't go on cooldown because it didn't do anything, but it will still fully stack your stasis. And it is a neat combo. I have yet to find a good use for it, but it is useful and you will find good use out of it. Shout outs to my comment section for teaching me that one. Y'all are goated. It is very cool. Okay. So getting into the emergency buttons, let's talk about Emerald Communion. You're going to sit still and regenerate 20% of your maximum health and 2% of your mana every 0.8 seconds for 4.1 seconds, but all the overhealing goes to other targets. If you cast Hover, you can use it while moving, and it is quite a disgusting amount of healing that you can get out of this button. Now, that being said, this is the emergency cooldown I'd probably use first. I like my rewinds, and they usually have specific places in boss fights or on scary fortified mobs where I know I'll use a rewind. Emerald Communion is the one I'm a little more free with, and it's a bit random, so it can get a little scary when it's not healing a target that desperately needs health. Or if you're taking damage too, it's going to heal you first. Now, Renewing Blaze. This is a 1.5-minute cooldown that heals us 100% of damage we take over 8 seconds. So let's say you're all taking damage and you want to Emerald Commune, pop Renewing Blaze, then pop Commune, and more health will be making it to your teammates than to you. Very, very useful stuff. By the way, Obsidian Scales, we get 2 charges of it. 1.5-minute cooldown, 30% damage reduction for 12 seconds. That's great. It's not the love, it's the defensive. Fear of the Aspects is our lust button. That is just going to give us Bloodlust or Hero or Time Warp. But ours is better because it uses the power of Gay Dragons. Rewind, again, 50% of incoming damage taken in the last 5 seconds by all allies is healed back. It says 25%, but it's increased by 100% when not in raid. Because we take the 2 charge talent, it's 25 instead of 50%, which means instead of being 100%, it's 50%. But honestly, I find Rewind has gotten the job done for me so many times at 50% that we keep this one around. Really good talent, really useful. We're gonna get into the utility buttons in a second. The last 2 things to talk about are Blessing of Bronze just makes everyone's main movement ability have a lower cooldown. That actually gets our hover down to a 30-second cooldown, which is really nice. Lasts for an hour. It's good. Big fan of that one. A deep breath. This is a damage button. There's no other reason for this to be on healer. You just blast. It's awesome. Use it on cooldown. Save it for ad phases. It's great. It's free damage. There's no other purpose to it, right? This isn't DPS where it has a very specific purpose. Nah, you just get to use it, homie. So have fun. Whenever I talk about a damage rotation, you could just mix in a deep breath and you're putting in work. There are some pulls where you just straight up will be the highest damage because you kill everything. Because if you like tip the scales, fire breath, deep breath, like a pack of small monsters, you'll be top DPS for the first couple seconds. I'm not even kidding. It's insane. Utility buttons. Tail swipe, we end up reducing its cooldown to 45 seconds, and wing buffet, or wing buffet if you want to say it properly, 1/2 minute cooldown, knockback, knock up. We don't have a stun unless we talent into deep breath stuns, which is over here. So that means we're stuck with a knock up, a knockback, and a root. But enough said. Knockback's a knockback. Knockup's a knockup. I said those in the wrong order, but you get the idea. Great moves, very useful in M+. It's some of the only CC we get. Landslide. This is very nice and spiteful weak, by the way, but it just roots people for 30 seconds. If they take damage, it will end up inevitably breaking the root. So good on spitefuls, but that's about it. I use this to occasionally slow someone, or when I'm doing a world quest in PvP, I use this to root someone and run away, but that's about it. We also have a kick. This is one of the last abilities I think I have to talk about. Kick, you just yell at them. I'm not kidding. You just rawr, and they stop talking. That's it. You just roar at people and you interrupt them. It's 40 seconds. It sucks, but at least we have one. Priest doesn't get one, so we get one. At least the healer priest don't get one, so we take those. You also have a mass revive. I don't gotta tell you what it does. Okay. Now, combos. Combos are the bread and butter of this class. Almost everything we do is combo based, and I want to give you all the best combos I can, and then a very quick guide on opening and damage. So, the main combo you should know is Echo Reversion. Pop an Echo on someone, hit Reversion. The heal over time is good. The instant heal from Ouroboros is nice. And if they've recently taken damage, it's good, but this is very much a fire and forget heal. You can drop it on someone and go about your day and do something else with your life. I mean it. Echo Reversion is one of your primary heals. If the tank's taking a ton of damage, Echo Reversion the tank. If you have to be really fast about it, just Reversion the tank, but yeah, Echo Reversion, one of our best friends. Most of our combos though don't stem from Echo, so I will give you the last few. You've already seen it. Echoing 2 or maybe 3 targets, and then being able to heal, up to like 4 people relatively quickly with your Echo and Verdant Embrace or your Echo and Spirit Bloom, right? So manually targeting Echoes is a good idea to set up basic combos. And again, one of the best versions of this is you throw a temporal into melee, and then you Echo the person in the back line that wouldn't receive it. And then when you heal everyone up front, they get healed too. So now let's talk about, and actually I have one more non-Echo combo, and that is, or it's an Echo combo, but Fire Breath, charge it up to max, get an Echo on a bunch of people, and then throw a Living Flame. This is a huge heal. It's a really, really, really potent heal, but it's very likely going to give you 1, maybe 2 essence bursts. So if you want to do a nice big preparation for a phase of damage, you can let loose that Fire Breath, throw out a temporal anomaly, and you're going to be fully stacked with Echoes, so you can start manually dropping them on people. And again, if you got 2 essence bursts, you can go Echo, 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 and then wait a second, Echo, and you have everything you need for a full potency party-wide 105% heal. So now let's get over the bigger ones. Temporal Anomaly into Dream Breath is my go-to. The reason this is my go-to is that as incoming damage happens, this heal over time lasts quite a while, and we'll just heal the party through that damage over time. If I need more up front, you simply hold and react to it, but this is a fairly simple one. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest combo we have access to. So we're going to throw a Temporal Anomaly, Stasis Verdant itself. That's going to give us a Dream Breath. You're not going to want to cast another button until the stasis is ticked, so feel free to be doing damage for a moment. Then once the Echo has been applied, pop a Dream Breath, throw another Temporal Anomaly, Now our stasis is complete. We're doing a massive heal right now. Stasis is up. Now we can drop some echoes on some targets, throw another temporal anomaly, and then we can hit our and then we can pop middle mouse and we get another gigantic Ysera's combo with echoes out and another temporal anomaly, so that we can then hit Verdant again on ourselves, and Dream Breath is almost off of cooldown, and then you can cast this to just disgusting. There's no need for this much healing. I don't know when the hell you need this much healing. I can't think of a single moment in the game you need this much healing on 5 people, but there you go. Absolutely nutty amounts of healing that you can get out of that combo. Combos are pretty freeform though. One of my favorite combos is to just throw a temporal anomaly, echo a few targets that don't get it instantly, so we're fast, tip the scales, spirit bloom, whole party's full healed. Easy, right? So you're gonna come up with these as you play, but it's all about echo, all about temporal. And again, I can't state it enough. If you're somebody who is struggling with, say, getting your temporals out onto the targets, throw it at the highest, like the highest grouping of players. So for instance, let's say there are 2 casters back here kind of close to each other, throw the temporal anomaly, then echo the people in melee. Or if you got more melee players, throw the temporal there, echo the 2 backliners. It's okay to yell at people to move in, but this is a good way to get around it. And trust me, the healing you get out of it is still pretty freaking good. And then of course, let's say someone in the backline gets hurt, they already got a hot ticking on them, or they're sitting pretty with an echo with nothing to do. You throw a reversion on them, boom, they're healed, you're good. A lot of this class is prep work, and I'm going to go over that in my closing comments, so make sure you listen for that. Damage rotation. Okay, my rule of thumb is use deep breath if you want it. Hold it for ad phases if you need it. You can use it into melee if you prefer, or let's say you're worried about accidentally pulling, you can always deep breath out of melee, etc. This is usually the second or third thing I do in a damage rotation, but it's up to you when you want to use it. Sometimes I open with it. There's no harm in that, but typically speaking, feel free to put in deep breath wherever you want. Fire breath, on the other hand, has a specific spot. So here's your AoE damage and healing rotation. Start by throwing a temporal anomaly, then blast the pack with whatever level you see fit. Throw your leaping flames either on healing or on damage, and then continue Azure Striking if no one needs healing. Or if you want to prepare heal, fire a Dream Breath and then go back to Azure Striking. And then stop Azure Striking whenever you need to heal someone. That's your basic AoE setup. Your single target rotation is to fire a Fire Breath, disintegrate, but never run out of essence if you can avoid it. It can be tempting. And then just throw Living Flames. If you get a Living Flame that gives you an essence burst, feel free to pop this on damage. Again, we do a lot of damage with Energy Loop, and we get mana back, but this is it. This is your single target rotation. It's nice. It does a lot of work, and your single target, even without the life menders, is pretty decent. Although with life menders, it's quite a bit higher, but that's all there is to it. Thankfully, our damage rotations aren't too hard, and if you do mess them up, if you're just mashing Azure Strike or throwing Living Flames, you're helping. You're doing it. Don't stress it. Now, closing comments about this class. It's hard. This class is a lot of prep work. It's a lot of practice. You got to really know where your moves go. When you're scrambling and you're running out of resources, how do you heal the party up efficiently? What buttons do you have left? Do you dip into those emergency cooldowns, or do you set up something weird with Living Flame because you're waiting for Spirit Bloom to come back? It's awkward. It's awkward when things don't work, but the more you can prep, the more you can get echoes on people, fire your temporals where they're helpful, and start things a little bit early. You'll then be doing damage chillin', or you'll be healing people comfortably because you're ahead of the curve. I cannot stress how important it is to be ahead of the curve with this class, but mastering this class is so much fun, and a lot of it taps into the power fantasy of being a dragon. You feel like you have the elements at your fingertips, and when you put it all together, you feel unstoppable. It's a really, really fun class, and I super duper enjoy playing it. Final little notes for some of you stat gremlins out there. I typically try to stay above 20% haste, as that breakpoint feels really good to me. Crit is really important for reversions to do a lot of work. And then otherwise, I would probably go versatility over mastery when you can, because as good as mastery is, I find that often the crit and haste are putting in more work for me, but you're not getting hurt by mastery. It's just not going to let you contribute to your damage. I unfortunately am in a place of gear right now where I have 70 versatility. It's all in this gem, baby. That's a little rough. So if you can, get a little bit of verse for the damage reduction and damage output and healing output, but realistically, I find that mastery is a nice stat to have, but haste and crit are the two stats that I typically fiend for, and it works pretty great for me. Somebody asked me once before, what trinkets do I use? You do not want to use my trinkets. I use Tome of Unstable Power so I can do more damage and more just flat raw value healing when I need it, but I honestly just use this as a DPS cooldown. And I have the Furious Rage Feather to do damage. And right now, you wanna know what I'm really doing? I'm leveling up the Ruby Shell, because this thing's got a 2-hour cooldown, or 24-hour cooldown, a 1-day cooldown. But this is a recent discovery. You can train your dragon. All right, get this, DreamWorks. You can use it in certain scenarios and it will start leveling up a skill. So I'm currently having it attack the single target dummy, so it learns to use the single target ability, so that as a trinket, it's just doing single target damage for me. You can also set it up to do AoE or deliver buffs to your team. I want to say it's haste and crit, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I just put out the dragon sees the target and then goes away. 24 hours. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. And if I do it 7 days in a row, it'll be maxed out and my dragon will be so powerful. So yeah, don't look at me for I don't use a lot of healing trinkets, and you all might have noticed I have healing trinket right here. I'm not using it. I damage too much. This is why I get killed. But anyway, that's it for the guide. I hope you all learned a lot from this. Head down to the comments if you have questions. I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. And feel free to stop by my stream any day of the week, and I'll talk about this class literally all day. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.